Carl Icahn and Las Vegas gambler Billy Walters. This is ABC News.
Especially the hottest deals of deer season are disappearing soon. Act now and choose 0% financing for 60 months. Or get big cash off select new John Deere tractors from our one family through our powerful 6M and 6R series. Hurry in today. Offer ends July 31st, 2014, subject to approved credit on John Deere financial installment plans. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Visit Klatsop Power Equipment, your trusted John Deere dealer for the latest deals on quality John Deere equipment. Find us online at myjohndeerdealer.com.
Goes into the bone marrow.
You know Lumber Liquidators for having the best selection of flooring at the lowest prices. And right now, you can buy one floor and get 50% off another on their thickest and best Dream Home laminates. No games, no gimmicks, just huge savings off already ridiculously low prices. Plus, get great deals on pre-finished hardwood and Morningstar bamboo. So go to lumberliquidators.com to find the store nearest you. Special financing is available, but hurry, this buy one, get one sale ends Tuesday, June 3rd.
KLYC forecasting, it is looking good. Sunny skies all the way through Wednesday. Daytime highs should be in the mid to the upper 70s through Monday. And then mostly sunny still Tuesday and Wednesday, highs in the low 70s. Overnight lows near 50. 66 degrees right now at McMinnville. Here we go.
I'm ready.
And good morning. Yamhill County, you are tuned right here. To the root of it, right here. How are you doing, Ray?
Oh, I'm totally functional.
Great.
We're doing okay. This is the time you can start counting.
Oh, yes. It's sunny out there, isn't it?
It's sunny. Tomorrow is the 1st of June. We have 18 weeks of growing season till the next frost, approximately.
Probably. Yes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, whatever. Soon. So now you can go ahead and do it.
Right.
Now we can plant anything.
And you can do that. Actually, all you have to really do is just go 2 feet outside of any one of the towns in Yamhill County and see the agriculture that is going on. They're ready. They're in tune. They've got the sprinklers going, water line, laying down the last of their crops. It's all happening out there. So you can tell it in the garden right now. And if you would have heeded your advice last week, where you said get out in the garden because it's going to be perfect for it, you're reaping the benefits because it was really a perfect week to do everything that you needed to do.
Yeah, and now we're going to have a week of glorious sunshine and warm dirt warm at night.
If you did not till, if you did not get into working that soil this past week, wow, good luck. Do it now. Do it very quickly.
Yeah, do it before lunch today.
Right, because that soil's going to get really warm and it's going to get pretty unworkable. Looks like a really bad kid's ashtray that they make from Shop Clash or something like that. So it's like all terraformed. I've got these bumps where there shouldn't be bumps and just globular. So I just need to get something covering it up, and then it'll look normal again. It'll look fine.
Well, I'm going to stop off at Recology on the way home today and pick me up half a yard of the E5050.
Mm-hmm.
I won't take it all home with me today, but I've got enough for a quarter of a yard because I've got 2 giant pots yet to go, and I'm going to put a tomatillo tomatillo in each one. So this year I'm going to have a breeding pair.
Yes, because as we learned when we talked about the tomatoes and the tomatillos, that for the tomatillo you need to have two.
Yep.
Otherwise you're not going to get the fruit. You'll get the flowers, but not the fruit. So you're going to be testing that.
Yeah, it has
to find out if you have two female plants. Or if you have to.
It has to have a friend.
Right, exactly.
So I bought a tomatillo with a friend.
Yes, nice.
Pollen, and we're gonna talk some about pollination later.
Pollinating, yes, yeah. Absolutely. But the weather, as we've said, partly cloudy today.
Yeah.
What am I looking at? I'm looking at clear skies right now.
I don't know where the cloud's at.
Wow. I'm looking at a radar with clear skies. So, obviously, partly sunny also is in there.
Yeah, somebody was just covering their tuckus at the weather station.
Right. High in the mid-70s around the area. For me, that is perfect. And if it really were partly cloudy, that would be even more perfect. Because that sun you get that wind, that constant wind blowing, and then the sun beating down, dry skin, dry nasal passages, and then the pollen just has a field day in there, doesn't it?
Oh, I got up this morning and went and got in my truck, and the windshield on the truck looked like I'd oversprayed it with yellow paint. It just, oh my God!
And you're speaking of the pollen, just inhaling it. It's all coming in there, and
it's just a sheet. And if you turn your wiper on, you got this one smear.
Yeah.
And then you got to run a half a bottle of water on it to get the gooey,
stickier stuff.
Nice word. Stuff off.
Right. Yeah, but it is the season, and just finishing up on the weather this week. Gosh, mid-70s. Yeah, we're gonna have one hot day Monday, clear with 81.
Yeah,
sunscreen.
Glorious. Yeah, the dog will be on the deck.
Yeah,
she's got it down to a science. She lays in the sun for 10 minutes, and then she goes lays under the table for 10 minutes, and then she goes lays in the sun for 10 minutes, and then she goes lays under. She got it down to an absolute science.
Mine wants outside at 6 o'clock in the morning. Wants to stay out there on the porch in the rising sun, basking in all that it is, and stay there for 4 hours, and
Smart
then come
dog.
inside. Do nothing.
Yeah.
Bark at a chicken or something like that, but do nothing but sit there, lay there. Oh.
Yeah, me too. Lay there on the chase lounge with my feet up like a dead cockroach. I'm fine.
Right. Yeah, but not in the sun.
No, and our sympathies go out to all of those people who have allergies and things at this time of the season. God bless you. Find some way to relieve it, because it's going to be horrible for the next 2 weeks. Everything is releasing pollen.
And if you did just move to Yamhill County, you're probably, and you didn't have allergies before, you're probably finding out that you do have allergies, actually. Because I think the people that I've talked to that have moved here from across the country, across the world, they really do. They get it bad here.
Oh, 50,000 acres of grass seed is,
man, it's just, it's really intense.
It's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice, though, that people are mowing their alfalfa fields already. Got a first crop, and that stuff is rolled up. It's like 2 feet high.
So what I was going to use as an indication, as unscientific as it is, just to tell me when I need to till into my garden, and also probably prolong what I needed to do was the clover fields. I figured when they start churning the clover fields, I'm going to go ahead and just I'll start tilling then. They haven't done it yet. The clover's still out there, and that was beautiful when you have a whole field of red clover just in the setting sun. But then it just flips really quick, and right now it all just seems really brown, and it's all it's on the downward slope. So I figured just to say I'm going to till when this happens, and they're putting it off. They're going to make it harder for me to get into the soil, is what it is.
Your indicator species is not happening.
I should have chosen something far more reliable. Something I knew what it was instead of guessing when they're going to do that too.
Well, you might consider when everybody does that first tilling, like in February or March.
Yeah.
we did a good till on the garden last fall out at my friend's house out in Carlton, where we grow our main garden. I don't grow a garden in the homeowners association because we have those hairy four-legged things that eat everything.
And no fences.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is even the dog don't scare them anymore.
Yeah. A honking horn doesn't scare them.
Not a bit. They just look at you and go, say, what? You need my attention?
Yeah.
Oh, you have something on your porch for me to eat.
Yeah.
But when they do that first spring till, it's a good time to bust it up right then, because farmers have learned this science, and Extension Office is a really good resource of information on when it's time to do stuff.
Yeah.
And so when you see that first spring till...
And there were a few days in the spring when we had really nice warm stretch, and I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe if you just get out there, and there was an inch or two of dry topsoil, so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll get in there. But the first year that I moved here, I made the mistake of getting into the soil too early, and I had dirt clods the whole summer. And the guy that I rented the tiller from, even he warned me. He's like, ooh, you don't want to be doing that. You're going to be dealing with dirt clods the whole summer. And so I have that in my head every year. Well, you don't want to get in there too early. You're going to get dirt clods all summer. So that's why I've been putting it off. And I think that, this past week, that was the perfect time to do it.
Would have been.
And right now, it's going to be a little bit hairier, just a little bit rougher to get into. Maybe have to stand over one place a little bit longer.
Well, you can still do it. It's just
absolutely still do it. But if I put it off one more week, it's going to be like cement.
Oh, you'll have to turn the kids loose with a ball-peen hammer, busting up the clods.
Yep, exactly. So get to it. I will do it. So that's one of the things that should probably be on the calendar. Let's take a break now.
And then we'll talk a little bit about the 1st of June tomorrow.
Oh. And it's a really big, 1st of June is a big time. I have that's my deadline for having the garden ready and everything ready to go is 1st of June. Yep. I'm not going to make it.
Okay, let's take a break.
We'll take a break. You're listening to The Root of It right here on 1260 AM.
AM 1260 KLYC, and we do want to thank Recology Northwest Greenlands for being a sponsor of To the Root of It. And we are right now at Recology talking to Nick Olheiser, the supervisor lead here in McMinnville. Nick, thank you for sponsoring the program.
Thank you very much.
So you and I were talking just before we started making this interview, was that the weather's been kind of crazy, but we're going to be heading into spring. What's going on now at Recology? So what are you selling right now here in this time of year?
We're still selling pretty much all of our in-yard products. It'll range from anywhere from a rock to all the barks. We have soil mixes, the compost. We're still doing the concrete mixing station services. We still have the blower truck services and delivery services pretty much anywhere in the local community, even some of the out communities as well.
What are your prices?
They're going to range from anywhere from about $15 for the half yards all the way up to the $30, $35 range for full yard.
Now, one of the nice things about having Recology here in McMinnville, it's very convenient to come down and get a truckload. Or how small quantities do you sell?
As far as in-yard pickup truckload, we go all the way down to half yard, and then we go up to however much you want to take at once, and you can come back and make several trips and get as much as you need, or if you're wanting to save a little bit of time, we can go ahead and deliver that right to your doorstep.
And how do they contact you?
Be either through the phone, which is 503-434-1671, or as well, we also have our new website all set up, which is compostoregon.com. It has all of our pricing and on hours as well as our address.
And your hours here at Recology Northwest Greenlands in McMinnville?
It's going to be 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday is 9 to 4.
Talking to Nick Olheiser, the supervisor lead for Recology Northwest Greenlands, sponsor here of To the Root of It on AM 1260 KLYC.
This is Bruce Huffman for Hillside Retirement Community. Is someone in your life affected by Alzheimer's or dementia? Hillside Retirement Community is proud to present Living with Alzheimer's and Dementia, a 4-part lecture series to help you understand this disease and provide support to family and friends of those with Alzheimer's or dementia. Come to the Hillside Manor Activity Room every Thursday in June at 5:45 p.m. to enjoy refreshments. Then at 6 p.m., Scott Lichtenstein will present 4 topics: signs and symptoms, treatment and behavior tools, caring for the caregiver, and options for long-term care. We look forward to seeing you every Thursday this June at 5:45 p.m. at Hillside, and thanks for listening.
Look at the weather forecast on KLYC, brought to you by J&J Auto Detailing in Park and Sell. Need a little help selling your vehicle or want to spiff it up? Put the shine back in your ride. Let Jim at J&J Auto Detailing in Park and Sell help you out. J&J Auto Detailing, 1500 Southwest Baker Street, across from the Tesoro gas station in Mac.
And welcome back. You're listening to The Root of It right here, KLYC.
Yes, here we are. It's going to be 1st of June tomorrow.
So soon.
Yeah, I mean, surprise.
Right.
So here we are with our June to-do list, and it's awesome.
And we say our June to-do list. It's actually the OSU Extension Office's calendar of things that you're supposed to do in Oregon at this time, and not just in Oregon, but specifically in this area.
Yeah, this is for Yamhill County. This is what we should be thinking about doing in our own little microclimate, and that's why this show is just for Yamhill County. We don't really give a rip what happens in Portland. We don't really.
We try to.
Oh yeah, and, unless it's a parade, I'm not that interested. I'm sorry, but the Yamhill County area and East or Western Polk County and Northern Marion County. This is the area that this applies to.
And this is available online for anybody to look at. All you've got to do is just go to your search engine of choice and type in Oregon Extension Calendar, and this will pop right up.
Yeah.
So the first thing, planning. That's the one thing that we should always be doing, but most importantly, constructing those tomato trellises.
Yeah, you can go ahead and be hopeful. You got your maters in the ground. You got your tomatillos in the ground. Now you can go ahead and start thinking about fencing for them. Lots of people use the 6-inch mesh sheep fence with just a couple of fence stakes to hold them up. That works really, really well.
And it really is important to be
thinking
about this before they get much taller, because you don't want to have to be interweaving or moving those vines down and possibly breaking them off and interloping and what. So you put these cages down now, you put the trellis up now, and then it grows into where you want it to.
And you can adjust the leaves, you can adjust the stems to be contained and supported. I remember when I was a little kid, my dad used to go out to the wood pile, and he'd build these huge wood crates, almost like a pallet size, and then put it down around this little plant. And I'd go, man, this that seems like really hopeful. But by end of July, first part of August, the tomato plants completely fill that whole thing
over it,
up.
yeah.
But Grandma next door had chicken manure.
It's like you've been through this before.
Yeah. Well, my grandma had chickens next door, and she would when Grandpa had cleaned the chicken coop, he'd put it back out in a corner.
Yeah.
And he'd leave it there for like several years, and then they had a neat little system where they just built a pile of this stuff out, and it was clear out in the back corner, so
that
you
sounds
couldn't even
awesome.
smell it.
Oh, no.
And then they'd start at the other end. It was like 2 or 3 years old, and that's what Grandpa would put on the garden. And I can remember him wheeling the wheelbarrow full of chicken stuff.
That you couldn't smell or couldn't even tell
not by
that
then.
it was.
No, not by then.
But you knew.
I knew.
But you knew.
Oh, yeah, it was still white and gray and fun to play with and throw at the neighbor kids, because they didn't know that it was hard as a rock.
That's funny.
Yeah, slingshot chicken poop.
Okay, so
you can win any battle.
So we've got the tomatoes trellised up for the planting.
Yeah,
thinking ahead, but what you want to do right now is prune those lilacs and those rhododendrons. I actually brought in some of those rhodies because those flowers aren't as bright and nice looking as they once were in some of the places. The early bloomers on the rhododendrons, those have definitely started to fade and look back.
Well, I got a lilac that's going to the recycle bin.
Oh, immediately?
Yeah, within the next week or two. If it doesn't sprout a blossom, that sucker's toast.
Yeah.
I'm tired of feeding it and watering it, and it's like,
what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, you have not made a blossom, so you go away.
Yeah.
And you can do that. I mean, if something in your garden isn't, or your flower garden or whatever, isn't doing what you wanted it to do, it's okay to pull it up and mulch it.
You can break up.
Yeah, you're not married to that sucker.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm...
I know, no. Okay.
Move along.
So what you also want to do is fertilize the vegetable garden 1 month after plants emerge, which is happening right about now.
Yep.
So a little bit while.
And just do a little side dressing, a couple inches out from the plants, because you want to actually put the fertilizer down where you hope the roots are. And the roots will grow towards the fertilizer. Don't put the fertilizer on the leaves. Don't put it right around the stem. That's really not going to do it that much good. You need to put the fertilizer, whether you use granular or powder or liquid fertilizer, keep it a few inches, up to like 6 inches away from the base of the plant, because that's where your root structure really is.
And you're looking for the nitrogen at this point because that's what they're still building up on, right?
Yep, and if you put in leaf crops like lettuce and chards, and start thinning them, start eating it. It's nothing is just...
Going through this calendar, I felt really bad about myself because one of the things is you're right, the leaves on the lettuce, you're supposed to be thinning those off now because you get those dead ones on the end, and they look really bad. You can't eat them. They're waste, so you tear them off.
Yeah.
I haven't planted it. I planted my lettuce last week, so I don't even have a sprout. I don't have anything going on, but I'm looking at this calendar, and they say you can pick your peas now or start to...
And you didn't put them in the ground either.
They are currently waiting to germinate and come up from the ground. I'm hoping at some point this will happen. But reading this calendar, it's really funny. If I would have probably, been following it all along, it's put your peas in April and do all of these things. Right. And you would be reaping the benefits.
You'd be eating them now.
Which I'm sure most people are. I'm just the only person that... doesn't have their lettuce in yet. What about you? Do you have any lettuce out there?
Well, yeah, we have lettuce out in the Carlton garden.
Yeah.
And I just take a pair of scissors and snip it off. And then
what's the shelf life on your lettuce that you're snipping off?
If I rinse it and put it in wet paper towels, it'll last for up to 3 or 4 days.
No. Okay, so the stuff that I get, I can snip it. And if I do not use it, probably within 6 hours, it is it's all dried up and useless.
It'll mush up pretty quick if you leave it on the counter. It needs to be rinsed and dried off and chilled and kind of cared for a little bit. But then you can use it, up to 3 or 4 days actually.
Yeah.
But and by that time you'll have new leaves to replace it with. That's the only thing about planting lettuce is you got to keep eating it.
So what you're doing is you're peeling and eating as you go. You're not ripping the whole plant up all at once. See, I guess that's where my problem is.
Yeah,
I'm ripping the whole thing.
I just
and expecting it to last like iceberg lettuce does in the refrigerator for months.
Oh, it'll resprout. Yeah. If you leave the root structure in there, it'll make a new bunch of leaves for you. And you can do that up until it starts getting really warm. Lettuce doesn't like really warm weather. That's why they call it a cool season crop. Because it likes to be harvested now before it gets hot.
My throat doesn't like warm season either right now. I'm just having a hard time right here, just coughing all over the place. It's getting dry out there.
Well, the station is completely surrounded by grass fields.
Oh, yes.
There's no there's not really much wonder why our poor.
So we're choking right now.
Why we're making wheezy sounds, and everybody's grabbing for the Kleenex at once. And,
right.
Yeah. But now's a good time to start looking for red strawberries. Get them before the birds do.
Or dogs.
Does your dog eat strawberries? Oh.
That's the sound of display. Yes, my dog eats
That's the sound he makes after he eats the strawberries.
Right. All of them. He sneaks into the garden, dug a hole under the fence so that he can do this and accomplish this task.
Oh,
yeah.
Bless his heart.
Yep.
You can go ahead and put some more mulch on stuff to help conserve water moisture later. And being as how it is going to be a really warm week, please do not panic and overwater your plants.
Because we were just talking about lettuce.
Yeah.
And lettuce is definitely one of those things that you don't want to overwater when it is warm like this.
Or Swiss chard.
Any of those big leafy things, because that's when they'll go ahead and seed. They'll bolt is what the process is, bolting. And that's where they just grow straight up really fast. And you don't get those lush, big, fuller leaves because they've decided, it's time to reproduce.
Yeah, you go out one day and you got a 2-foot tall lettuce flower.
It really is not an exaggeration. All of a sudden, one day you will go there and it'll be twice as big and just skinny little pole things sticking right up.
Yellow flowers on the end making seed. It's done.
Yep.
Yeah, so, then you can go ahead and pull it up.
Right. But to keep that down, you just don't want to overwater. You don't want your soil to be just this muddy, marshy mess.
1.5 inches of water a week is really all things need in Yamhill Valley.
Oh, yes.
And I know it's hard to control. You see your neighbor out there with his sprinkler on for 15 minutes every day.
What does he know?
Well, he knows he's going to have to mow a lot more.
Yeah. Or he doesn't know that. You should know that, though.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily need to lean over the fence and tell him. He'll learn his lesson.
Right. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
So don't overwater basically everything. It's scary sometimes because, especially when you get into July.
Yeah.
But at this point, if you keep that constant soil and moisture, and you've got the mulch covering it over, you can. It's every other day, every few days. It'll be fine. A
deep watering is always much better than a quick water with the hose. Mm-hmm. If you can just let it soak in a slow drip irrigation type system is the best way to conserve water and make your plants the happiest. Mm-hmm. Sprinklers are what we use because it's that's what we've grown up with. And breaking that habit is tough to do.
Yeah.
But if you line your vegetable garden with some kind of soaker hoses or drip irrigation system, then you can cover them up with compost so you don't see them, you don't trip over them.
We've actually got a drip irrigation class coming up on Tuesday at the Extension office.
Yeah.
And that's it's $5, I believe. More information is available at the Extension office, but I'm looking forward to it. How to set up your irrigation? It's a little 3-hour class.
Yep, it's setup, assembly. Yeah. How to determine how many hoses you need, what length of drip irrigation you need. It's a cool system.
I'm looking forward. I'm actually putting off setting mine up because I had planned on doing that today, finishing everything up just so that I can attend that and find everything out. But if you want more information on that, you can go to extension.oregonstate.edu/Yamhill or call the Extension office. But let's take a break right now. It is 9:33 in Yamhill County, 63 degrees.
Oh, I love it.
And I guess I can call that partly cloudy if that's haze.
I don't know what that is. That ain't clouds.
I know, but we'll talk about some pollen when we get back because it is the season for it. And there are a few. We get to talk about flowers. And who doesn't want to talk about flowers on a day like this? Right now, you're listening to The Root of It right here, KLYC 1260 AM.
AM 1260 KLYC, To the Root of It, and sponsor for To the Root of It here is Recology Northwest Greenlands, having a facility here in McMinnville. We're talking to Nick Olheiser, the supervisor lead. Now, Recology Northwest Greenlands has undergone a bit of a change in their corporate structure and their name and so on and so forth, but they're still here in McMinnville, still here to provide quality mulch and garden products.
Yeah, absolutely. About 3 years ago, we were purchased by a San Francisco-based company called Recology. Basically, it's just been a rebranding for us in a sense. We've changed a few of our processes that we do here on site. Other than that, everything's the same. We still offer the same services, the same great staff, and the same competitive prices as well.
So if you need something you mulch for your garden, your operation, come down here to Recology. Now, when people talk about Recology Northwest Greenlands, what do you want them to think of as what you provide or the company?
I want them to realize that we are the new face of composting in a sense. This is kind of where the industry is shifting towards the more organics side of it, and I want us to be the front runners, and I want us to be more involved in the community, and I want them to know all about us when they hear our name.
And where are you located? What are your hours?
2200 Northeast Orchard Avenue here in McMinnville, and hours are going to be 8 to 4 Monday through Friday and 9 to 4 Saturday.
Talking to Nick Olheiser and Recology Northwest Greenlands, the sponsor of To the Root of It, right here on AM 1260 KLYC. Check out the happy hour at Golden Valley Brewery and Restaurant, 3 to 6 p.m. and 9 till close 7 days a week. Great food, beer, and drink specials. Try the Caesar salad, house-made hummus empanadas, hot wings, and their famous Angus Springs beef sliders. Take your friends to the Pilsner Room Sports Bar to watch your favorite game and play a free round of shuffleboard on their new 18-inch custom-made tournament-style shuffleboard. A great way to start the evening or finish the day. Golden Valley Brewery's Happy Hour. Handcrafted beers, food, and wines from the great Willamette Valley since 1993. Open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., 4th and Johnson, downtown McMinnville. The Bargain Barn in McMinnville is going out of business. For personal reasons, owner Ron Gibson has decided to call it quits. Everything must go this next week. Save big on furniture, collectibles, art, and many different kinds of items. Ron says he appreciates your business and has made many friends here in McMinnville. The sale is underway. Bargain Barn, just across the parking lot from the grocery outlet in McMinnville, quitting business. And you save big. Hours are weekdays 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Shop and save. The Bargain Barn, McMinnville, going out of business.
And welcome back. You're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC. Hi, Ray.
Hey, we're gonna talk about reproduction and pollination and get into that a little bit on flowers and the reason why pollen is so irritating.
What is pollen?
Pollen,
because we talk about pollen. I know how to spell it. P-O-L-L-E-N.
Pollen is the male gamete.
Oh, science.
That then gets into the...
I liked how you put it before. It's the male seed.
It's a male seed.
It's a reference, a point that I think most people of a certain age can understand.
Yeah.
That's what pollen is, and it has one purpose, and that is to find the
female reproductive organs on the flower.
And that flower is either going, depending upon the species of the plant, that flower is going to have to be on another one when we talk about cross-pollination, or the flower can be on itself.
Yeah,
the plant
the self-pollinators. Like tomatoes are self-pollinating. The pollen from the upper flowers can be spread to the lower flowers, or vice versa by bee or some pollinator flying around. If you don't have honeybees, there's still hundreds of good pollinators out there, sawflies and hoverflies and things like that. Hummingbirds, butterflies, lots of ways that pollen gets from flower to flower without using European honeybees. But
so what I brought in here, and I think that's something that we could probably talk about if you want to pull that out of the planter right there. You just have to pull it out. It just comes right out. No, you just sit down. Yep. There you go. And what you have in front of you is a cutting from my rhododendron. And the reason that I brought this in is because it just It is really a good diagram of plants because all of its parts are sticking out and very noticeable.
Well, they're big.
Right, exactly. So you can see what we're talking about. Some of the terms, the petals, petals.
Okay.
I think
the petals are the pretty part.
Right.
And then let me turn here.
And then you have the stamen, which is those things that are sticking out, that big, long, tubey thing.
Sticking up here.
And so at the top you have the anther.
This is the anther. It's the receptacle up there.
Mm-hmm.
And down inside there, on a rhododendron, you can't really see it, but down inside there is the pistil, and that is the female part of the plant.
So in the center of the flower, you've got the pistil, which has the ovary, the stigma, and the style.
And these guys produce the pollen.
Mm-hmm.
And
when you say these guys, that's anther.
The little boys up here.
Right. So the little tippy thing on the end of the stamen is called the anther, and that produces the pollen. And
right.
So that's what the bees and the other insects, the hovering flies, they're looking for that. That's what they're going after. And the whole purpose of having the petal is to attract that the pollinators to them. So you've got this bright colored flower that the pollinators are like, oh wait, that's usually is where pollen comes from.
This has the appropriate splash of yellow to bring friends.
Yes.
So, but on the bottom is the sepals. That's these little guys down here. That's the part that
the little green connector.
The little green connector thing. And that's what the flower was wrapped up in.
So what you've done is you've flipped over the flower. So if you see at the bottom, you're talking about the sepal that it's that little green binding. Looks like
the little green. It's kind of like the package wrap for the big surprise.
Right,
yeah,
right.
There you go. And then
what happens is you've got your pollinator that comes by, grabs the pollen,
and then he flies over here.
Then he goes over to another flower and puts the pollen over there, and the pollen is then received into the pistil, right, into the ovary, and then travels down the tube, and that's when you produce the seed when it gets down to the ovary.
Oh. Yeah. Well, There's another term here that I didn't know.
Oh,
the
good.
nectaries.
Oh,
nectaries.
Okay. I thought you were saying that I said something wrong, but you want to talk about the nectaries.
Yeah, that's the part that actually produces
nectar.
The nectar to attract. That's what the bees are after. Mm-hmm. The hummingbirds are after. All those guys are after is the nectar that is at the bottom, and that's like the reward for the bee for coming in.
The reward is the nectar, and it rubs up and gets the pollen all up in its little furry
gets
stuff.
Gets a little sack full.
Right, but it's going after the nectar.
Yeah, if you look closely at, like, bumblebees are a really good example because they're big enough to actually see, and on their hind legs will be these big piles of yellow stuff.
Right.
That's the pollen that they're taking over to the next. They're going to take it next door.
It's amazing how noticeable the pollen is.
Pollen looks like a fine powdery yellow thing, and in most cases it's a yellow tint of some type. Mm-hmm. But you look at pollen underneath a microscope, and it's some nasty stuff.
I think I saw a picture of it. It's almost like barbed wire.
Oh yeah, it's mean looking,
right?
And that's why it when it gets in your system, into your breathing apparatus. Up your nose, if
sticks around because it is made to go stick to a tube.
It's made
to go down the tube.
Yeah, it's some nasty looking stuff underneath them. Fur pollen is probably one of the ugliest ones, and it looks just like a big ball of barbed wire.
Yeah,
it's nasty.
So
for a little tiny.
So we've
thing.
got the pollen. It goes to the ovary, down the style, which is the tube down there, into the ovule. And the ovule is where the female seed is.
Right.
And then, so bam, you've got one seed, and that seed then tells the rest of the plant, hey, I have a seed, now I need a protective coating over this seed, let's produce a fruit.
Yep.
And
bingo, you got a mater.
There you go. And that's how you get your tomato right there. Yep. Because the tomato is going to be that protective coating around the seed that... I don't know. So that's why we have pollen.
Yeah.
That's why everybody's nasal
sneezing
passages
their faces off.
But it is completely necessary.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be having tomatoes in July, apparently. I don't know, whatever the calendar says.
Well, but that doesn't make it any less uncomfortable for about 6 weeks.
Right.
Till the pollen season kind of passes a little bit. And pay attention to it. And that's why in weather reports and stuff, they give pollen counts. It's kind of give you a warning.
They did start doing that, and it's kind of helpful.
Yep.
It really is.
Let you know whether or not today's going to be a really crappy day.
But as a farmer, as a gardener, you get in tuned with these cycles. You get a little bit more sensitive to them because they're noticeable. Because you can relate them to the plants that are coming up at this time. But there are pollinating crops out there, and to do that, some of them don't actually need your help. Some of them don't need plants or bees helps or birds help. They just because you get them too soon, and I'm talking about like the cole crops, broccoli. You don't need a pollinator for them.
Nope. That's why you can grow them in a cloche out in the backyard in the springtime. You don't really need...
Because you're killing them before they go to flower, so you don't need them to pollinate anything. So spinach, also radishes, all of these things that you're not getting
Onions.
The flower of them. You're not getting a fruit from them. You're getting the plant before it actually matures into that. So those things you don't need pollinators for.
But there's some that actually need pollinators all the time to produce anything, and those are like your concubits, like melons, watermelons, cucumbers, squash. Mm-hmm. They have those big ornate flowers that attract pollinators, and
those can actually be hand pollinated also. If you feel like the bees aren't coming around, you can hand pollinate some melons too and some cucumbers for yourself.
I've actually seen people do that with a Q-tip.
Yep.
And it doesn't take much. Mm-mm. Just a mere brush with a Q-tip. Mm-hmm. And you can... That's how it's done in greenhouses and things like that, where you don't have pollinators. Sometimes they just use sponge brushes and do the pollinating by hand to get a crop. So it can be done.
Yep.
But... Then again, you have to have weather conditions and things.
And then there are some wind-pollinated veggies like the tomatoes, the peppers, and eggplants. But these they're producing fruit, so they do need to be pollinated.
Right.
If you have poor pollination or even, let's say, a bad rainy season, some of these things don't get pollinated.
Well, I like this. If you don't have and you don't see pollinators working your garden, you can just shake the plant a little bit and knock a little pollen off and let the wind blow it by.
Right.
And that'll work just as well. However, there's some that do not need pollinators to produce, like you say, all leafy greens, and there's a number of ground root things like beets and things like that don't really need, because you're eating the root of the plant.
Right. Rutabagas, turnips, again, carrots. You're not waiting for them to go to flower. You're getting them before that, and again, you're not. That's not the part of the plant you're eating. You're eating the roots.
Corn
so if you can think of it that way, that's why you don't need a pollinator if you're getting them beforehand.
Corn is another one that's wind pollinated, and you drive by a cornfield and you'll see like one tassel every 30, 40 feet. At a certain time of the year, the farmer comes in and whacks off the rest of the tassels because they really don't need it. You need to have it blown, and I didn't understand that either. Why did they just leave one every 20, 30 feet? Well, that's all you need.
That's all you need. It gets everywhere.
Yeah.
And I will do that in my garden every time I grow corn. I will shake them profusely, just shake, just to make sure. Yeah, I feel like I can contribute on that.
I picture this rustling sound, and all of a sudden a corn stalk. Turn Ellis loose and let him run through the cornfield, just batting the living daylights out of it.
And then herbs, celery, onions, and leeks.
Again, you're eating the leaf of the plant. You don't really need a pollinator take care of that and enjoy the benefits of good fresh grown.
But there are, for those vegetables and those things that you want to eat that do require pollination, around the garden you're planting plants that'll attract or be attracted to the bees, to the hummingbirds, to the what are the other pollinators that we don't think of when we think of because honestly, I think everybody just assumes that bees do all of the work of the pollinating.
They
right?
actually do very little of it in Yamhill County. Now, yes, you see huge mountains of beehives from commercial honey producers that are out in clover fields. And the bees really just work an area a couple hundred yards from their hive. They'll cover a large field, but more than likely you'll see a pile of hives in a corner and then another pile of hives out further in the field. And because the bees don't really...
Well, they have everything that they need. It's not as though they're foraging so much because, if you're in a clover field, that's what you have. You don't have a clover and a spruce tree taking up a whole bunch of space. You've got everything you need within just flight distance.
Well, we got lucky one year out at the garden, and it paid off. I mean, we took hundreds of pounds of squash to YCAP, but the guy planted red clover in the field next to it, and then up behind the house, there was 48 hives of bees. Wow! So our garden was actually between the beehives and the clover field.
That sounds good.
Oh, man.
And frightening.
We were picking patty pans every day. You can only eat so many patty pans at once, I can tell you that.
I understand that.
We got to take a break.
Let's take a break right now.
If you have any questions, give us a call at 503-435-1260. Or if you want to send us an email, you can send it to Kyle at totherootofit.com or Ray at totherootofit.com. And we can answer your questions that way, too. Or you can just run into us at Safeway.
That does work, too.
Yeah.
But for right now, you're listening to The Root of It on KLYC 1260 AM.
AM 1260 KLYC. We want to thank Recology Northwest Greenlands for sponsoring To the Root of It. It's because of their financial support makes it possible for us to have this program on the radio. We very, very much appreciate it. Talking to Nick Olheiser, who is the project lead at Recology Northwest Greenlands in McMinnville, there is a shift in the industry towards more organics, more naturals, and not chemicals and pesticides and unnatural fertilizers, but getting back to nature, right?
Exactly, yes. We're trying to get away from the man-made fertilizers that are so often used nowadays, trying to shift more into the organics and trying to educate individuals on the long-term benefits as well as the short-term benefits of organics. It's not good for just a year. It's good for 10 years. It's helping to restructure the soil, and it's not just providing instant nutrients. It's good in every way.
And it's also a lot safer to handle.
Absolutely, yes. It does not have, like you mentioned, the chemicals, the pesticides in it. So, yes, it's completely organic. Everything out here is OMRI listed, and it's good to go and put directly in your soil.
So come out here with your pickup truck. What kind of containers should people come out? Pickup truck, dump truck, what?
We can do pickup truck, dump trucks, trailers, whatever you have. You can also we do 5-gallon bucket sales if you just need something small for just a little in-house garden or backyard garden that you may have. We can do 30-gallon containers, whatever you have. We'll make sure we meet your needs.
And phone number, do you have a website or a Facebook page?
Yes, we actually just got a brand new website all up and running with our prices as well as our hours and our address, and that's at www.compostoregon.com.
And again, phone number?
503-434-1671.
Well, Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
AM 1260 KLYC, talking to Nick Olheiser, the project lead at Recology Northwest Greenlands in McMinnville, sponsor of To the Root of It on AM 1260 KLYC.
Out West Tax Service is targeting tax savings for you. Get a handle on your tax situation and in the process ease your stress from upcoming taxes. You can do this by meeting with Patricia Hofer at Out West Tax Service. When you meet with Patricia, you will have an old-fashioned sit-down one-on-one conversation and you will come away feeling much better about your tax situation. At Out West Tax Service, the coffee is always on and conversation time is always available. Patricia Hofer and Out West Tax Service are members of the National Association of Tax Professionals, the Oregon Association of Tax Consultants, Oregon Board of Tax Practitioners, Consultant License 28438C, Business License B15243. Out West Tax Service is targeting tax savings for you.
And welcome back. You're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC. It is 9:55, 63.5 degrees, Ray.
See, it's getting better.
Oh, yeah. It's only getting hotter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking to approach 76 degrees. So I guess we have 6 hours to get to that point.
Well, I got 6 hours to go dig the shorts out of the laundry.
Right.
I don't put them babies on until it goes over 70.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and that really it happens for about 2 hours, and then the wind really gets going, and you got to put pants on again.
Yeah, then I'm diving for the long sleeves again. We're talking about pollinators and how to attract. Oh, nice one. Speaking of pollinators.
I turned the microphone off. Nobody heard that.
Okay. But anyway, planting plants around your garden or in your gardens to attract pollinators.
Mm-hmm. And not just the bees, because that's the biggest misconception is that the bees are the only ones out there doing the pollinating, when in reality you've got, what? You said the hoverflies. Those are the bee-looking things that are helicopters, right?
Yeah, those are the guys that just kind of hang there in the air, and then they go and they zip in. But you got carpenter bees, and there's
sounds like a
dozen different types of bees.
Carpenter bee sounds like a bee.
It is a bee, but it's not a honeybee.
Ah.
Yeah,
not a honeybee, not a bumblebee.
And bumblebees, we've got half a dozen species of bumblebees in Yamhill County.
Because not all of these bees are developing those honeycomb, making honey.
Yeah,
they've got these big hives or anything like that. They're pretty solitary. You've got one female that is just doing those things for a small little hive.
Like bumblebees could live in a gopher hole. They don't care.
Right.
They're not.
Right.
And that's one of the best ways that they overwinter is to get down into gopher and shrew holes and things like that. So they're actually below dirt for the season and build their hives down in the dirt.
Hummingbirds, they're pollinating, right?
Hummingbirds are also excellent pollinators, and they come up. Well, we do have Annas and what's the little... there's another hummingbird.
Red-throated one.
Yeah, that pretty much stick around here all season long.
Oh, I've got them all season long. They're right on my front porch every day.
Yeah, and if you put a hummingbird feeder in a protected area, you'll have hummingbirds all winter long until it gets really, really cold, and then they're smart enough to fly down to Palm Springs for a weekend.
Yeah, no smart hummingbirds on my property. Nope, they're there all year round.
Yeah, but you have a nice barn where they can go.
Oh, absolutely! You're absolutely right.
Yeah, they can go live in the rafter of the barn and be perfectly fine all winter long. Come out, have lunch on the porch.
Right.
If the sun comes out. And then they go back in and.
You've given me a reason to not want to destroy my barn now.
You'd be surprised how many friends you have in your barn.
So many friends in my barn. Yeah. So many pollinators and potential
butterflies, moths, even some of the irritating ones that produce.
Oh my gosh! Put a purple flower out there, and you will have butterflies and moths all over that. That's what I found last year. It's amazing. I'm trying to think of the flower right now off the top of my head. I think it's some kind of daisy that's purple, but I've never seen so many moths.
Oh, like coneflower?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
and they're
echinacea.
It could have been echinacea because it also attracts them all over the place too. But you do want these things in your garden. You want them around because they're part of the ecosystem.
I've got a couple of perennials that bloom pretty easily. Delphinium, my penstemon. I had to get a new penstemon though. Yeah, that got wasted by the snow.
You're talking about penstem as I stepped on my peony.
Oh, yeah. Smash it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, and I just, they're really low to the ground, and they don't stand up as much as they should, and they just, just found my foot, so.
Oops.
Yep, but we can wrap things up on the pollen peony circle of life.
Yeah. Petunias are good. Daisies are good. All the species of daisies. I got one on the patio this year that I can't even pronounce, osteoporosis or something like that. It sounds like a bone disease.
That is a bone disease.
Osteoporum, maybe? But anyway, it's a member of the daisy family, and it has a purple center. And when the leaves fold up at night, they're purple on the outside.
Oh, that sounds
And
pretty.
then when they fold out in the morning, they're pure white.
Incredible.
With this bright purple center. It's a really cool-looking daisy.
And on that note,
yeah, we're going to wander off. Now's the time for you guys to get out there and get busy with the gardening, because it's the season.
You're going to have a whole bunch of questions, so Ray has made himself personally available, so give him an email, ray@totherootofit.com. Walk into the OSU Extension office here in Yamhill County. It's in McMinnville on Lafayette Avenue.
Yep.
Just walk in, ask him a question, give him a call. Go to extension.oregonstate.edu/Yamhill, and there's a bunch of information available right there also.
There's a really cool, if we got a second, there's a
really...
1
second.
Okay, there's a really cool aspect of the extension site called Ask an Expert.
If you don't think that we're expert enough, you can go to extension.oregonstate.edu and go to the Ask an Expert. And
we'll still
ask
get
them.
the question.
Right, they'll send it to Yamhill County. So, yes, absolutely, great resource. But get out there and garden. It's going to be another good weekend. And this is where in August you'll reap the reward.
Yep, this is where it's going to start paying off, folks. So go for it. Keep your tools sharp.
And thanks for listening to The Root of It, KLYC.
1260 KLYC, McMinnville, Newburgh, and Salem.
ABC News Now, I'm Deirdre Bryant. Sergeant Bo Bergdahl has been freed, the only American soldier held prisoner in Afghanistan.